In 1989, a Soviet submarine vanished beneath the Arctic waters without a trace. 2 decades later, something impossible happened. A distress signal was received from its call sign, deep beneath the ocean floor. This is not just a story about machines or war. It's about voices that refuse to be forgotten. It begins with a whisper through static. A single radio operator at an Arctic listening post rubs his eyes, thinking he's hearing things. The frequency is old, decommissioned decades ago. Yet the sound persists, a rhythmic pulse buried under layers of white noise. He leans closer to his headset, and then he hears it. A distress code, clear, authentic, impossible. The signal's origin, the Barents Sea. Coordinates that match the resting place of a Soviet submarine lost in 1989, the K-129. For the first time in 20 years, its voice had returned. Back in 1989, the ocean was a cold, secretive place. The Cold War was waning, but beneath the surface, silent battles raged on. The Soviets still patrolled the deep with nuclear submarines, wary of American sonar lines and NATO trackers. K-129 wasn't extraordinary, at least, not at first. She carried her crew of 98 young men barely into their 20s, and older officers hardened by decades of tension. To them, the sea was both enemy and home. One of them, Petrov, kept a diary. He wrote about how the ocean feels like another planet, about missing his daughter's first steps, about how, in the silence of the deep, you start to hear your own heartbeat echo back. But then on March 8, 1989, all contact was lost. The submarine vanished without warning. No explosion, no signal, no wreckage found. Just an empty ocean and 98 families left in the dark. For months the Soviets searched, using sonar sweeps and coded patrols, but the sea kept her secret. Rumors spread: an American torpedo, a reactor meltdown, a mutiny. The truth remained buried beneath 16,000 feet of freezing darkness. When they finally found what was left of K-129, the discovery broke them. The hull was split, mangled like paper, no survivors. They held funerals without bodies, burned uniforms, folded flags. Petrov's wife was given a medal and a note for sacrifice in service to the motherland. She never opened the envelope. The K-129 became another ghost in Soviet archives, sealed, classified, erased. Until the signal came. It was April 2009 when the Russian Northern Fleet received confirmation. The distress beacon carried an encrypted Soviet call sign, one assigned only to K-129. At first, they dismissed it as interference, but the coordinates matched exactly. Something or someone was transmitting from the seabed. They sent a survey drone. Its sonar returned something strange, a faint electrical hum emanating from inside the shattered hull. The drone's camera flickered as it descended through a cloud of silt. And then a shape emerged, the rusted body of K-129, still resting quietly but with a new anomaly near the command deck, an active signal light. It blinked twice, paused, then blinked again. The same sequence Petrov had written in his diary, his personal distress code. What followed became one of the most secretive deep-sea operations in modern Russian history. A submersible named Vityaz was sent to investigate, piloted remotely from the surface. When it reached the command deck, its floodlights cut through the dark. Inside, time had stopped, coffee cups still floating, papers frozen mid-motion, a photograph of a baby girl stuck to the wall with rust. The Vityaz's arm reached toward the signal source. It was coming from an old radio compartment, crushed but still intact. The equipment was dead, the power lines severed. And yet the signal kept pulsing. They retrieved the module, sealed it, and brought it to the surface. When the engineers opened it, they found something chilling. The main transmitter had been burned out decades ago. No power, no battery. The signal should have been impossible. And yet it had transmitted for 48 hours straight. Rumors began swirling within the Russian Navy. Some said it was a trick, that the Americans had somehow spoofed the call sign. Others whispered that the submarine itself was alive, an echo of its crew reaching out through the static of time. One engineer, Captain Durnov, couldn't let it go. He spent nights replaying the signal, slowing it down, cleaning the audio. And then he noticed something no one else had. Hidden within the binary pattern was a faint modulation. A voice. It wasn't clear, it wasn't loud. But it spoke 3 words, distorted but human. Not all gone. Durnov became obsessed. He tracked the exact frequency and found that it reappeared once every 37 days, always at the same hour, always from the same location. The ocean was breathing with a ghost. He returned to Petrov's old diary, which had been found sealed in a pressure-proof container inside the wreck. One line stood out. If we go down as one, but the sea keeps memories longer than we do. The words felt prophetic now. Scientists proposed theories, chemical batteries reigniting due to pressure changes, magnetic anomalies causing phantom transmissions, even data echoes bouncing through deep-sea cables. But none explained the voice. In 2011, a joint U.S.-Russian deep-sea research team was allowed to visit the wreck. Among them was an American sonar expert, Dr. Claire Myers, who had spent years studying oceanic signal distortions. When she analyzed the recordings, she found something the Russians had missed. The frequency of the signal wasn't random. It matched the natural resonance of the Earth's geomagnetic field, as if the submarine had somehow become part of the planet's electrical rhythm. The deep, it seemed, was speaking, and K-129 was its mouthpiece. A theory began to form, not among scientists, but among sailors and families of the crew. They believed the ocean was returning their voices. That somewhere in the dark, the memories of those who perished had become signals, fragments of human will refusing to fade. Every 37 days, the signal still comes. Shorter now, fainter. But when you tune into that old frequency, you can still hear the pulse. A rhythm that once belonged to 98 men. Petrov's daughter, now a woman in her 30s, once spoke in an interview. She said she sometimes sits by the sea at night with a radio, tuning through static, listening for that impossible sound. I don't believe in ghosts, she said, but I believe in love that doesn't stop trying to come home. And perhaps that's what the submarine was, a vessel of love, trapped between the living and the lost, calling out across decades for someone to answer. Maybe the sea never forgets. Maybe the voices of the deep aren't gone, just waiting to be heard again. Because sometimes, the things we bury don't stay silent forever. They find a way to speak, even through the crushing weight of time, pressure, and ocean. And somewhere beneath miles of black water, a single light still blinks. A message from the past. A call for home. The K-129 sleeps, but its voice still whispers through the static.